Oh, I need my gloves. We'll call it take two in our video lingo. Hello, this is me, Dylan, from Throttle Company. I'm standing in the shop. We opened about 4 months ago, since July. It's now November. That's what I was going to say. We finally just got our next section here. Well, as I trip over this. And so we're doing some current remodeling. Anyway, this is episode 1 of what I'm going to call In the Loop. So we have a test ride that we do. It's like 3, 4, 5 miles, something like that, maybe 4 miles. And we're just going to go around the loop. We're going to talk about a bike, and then that will be the whole episode. So I just thought I'd give you a little glance around the shop and the new area that we're literally just opened today. We just finished the floor, sealing it up. So we put the bikes in here. This is all Royal Enfields here. Brand new one that just came out the truck. And then over here is customer bikes. Some of them are ours that we're getting ready to fix up and sell, or fix up and ride, whatever. So anyway, what I've got today is an interesting bike. All right, hi again. Like I was starting to say, this is episode 1 of what I'm calling In the Loop. We're going to take our little 4-mile loop that we normally do for test rides. It's got a bunch of twists and a big straightaway. We do need to go through a little traffic. But every time I'm going to do a unique motorcycle, you can see kind of on the wall, there's some examples. These are our bikes. I could ride every one of them at some point. And the new Royal Enfields and customer bikes that are unique that come in. But what we're going to do right now is a bike that is pretty rare. Not a lot of people have ridden. It's the CBX. So this bike is unique because it is a inline 6-cylinder. You see all those exhaust pipes there? That's one for each cylinder. It's 6 cylinders. So in 1979, Honda came out with the CBX. They were getting crazy with the technology. Six cylinders, 6 carburetors, like it says on the front or on the top of the tank. 24 valves. So you can do the math. That's 4 per cylinder. They were really getting crazy with the technology. This is an 81 and 82. They have the fairings and the bags. These were more the sport touring models. So these Honda branded bags, they disconnect. You take them into your 1980s board meeting, impress all your friends. So you got the awesome 1980s look to it. Let's start it up. Let's take it around the loop. Oh, I need my gloves. We'll call it take 2. Okay, safety first. I know how the comments would go if I rode that without gloves. Also, it's getting a little cold. We got lucky here. It's November 18th here in Columbus, Ohio. I probably should have been talking over my cool startup. So you can hear this bike. It really doesn't have much of a sound till you get going, till you really give it some gas here. Now, full disclosure, I had actually just started. These bikes are a little cold-blooded. Normally you do need some choke, but I had actually just started a little bit earlier. You've got your big voltage thing right here. Actually, this is a funny thing, but this bike revs up real high, and like I was saying about it being kind of quiet, a 6-cylinder bike is very smooth, very quiet, and we'll hear that out on the road. But the speedometer only goes to 85 miles an hour. That was a big thing in the 80s. Government got involved, and the earlier bikes went, I think, to 140. And the 81 and 82. We have another 81 that goes to 85 as well. People were racing, I think. People were trying to say how fast they could go, and well, if it only goes to 85, then I guess you don't want to go any faster. I don't know. So we're gonna make a right out of here. This is my business, the Throttle Company Vintage Motorcycles. I am a co-owner with my dad and my girlfriend Nicole. Maybe you saw her in there. She also does videos. She's a photographer. We all wear many hats. And my dad and I have been collecting motorcycles, vintage motorcycles, for a long time. I do all the mechanical work. I also have another mechanic that works for us named Zach. He has his own kind of custom shop, Rat Shack Customs. Anyway, it's us. It's the 4 of us. Probably with the new expansion we'll be adding somebody, but we're a small business and we focus on vintage motorcycles and the new Royal Enfields, and it has been awesome so far. So I just thought I would share with people some of the unique motorcycles that I get to ride commonly. Honestly, you know, sometimes in one day I'll ride 6 different motorcycles, and Some of them will be like this, just iconic motorcycles that most people have never ridden, only ever heard of, maybe seen in magazines, that kind of thing. And we've got a couple of those, so I don't know if putting up my visor or not. We'll see that after I go to edit this video, but typically at a stoplight I like to put my visor up, even though it might be a little louder. So the CBX, as you can notice, it's sitting here at idle. It's actually idling a little bit high. I probably should have turned that down, but it's very hard to reach while I'm actually on the bike. Is way under there with the 6 carburetors all in line. Some of the things are hard to get to. So anyway, it's not going to hurt anything, but you can kind of hear how smooth it is. 800 RPM lower than this, it's even quieter. But it has a air suspension. You can kind of see how it recommends the air suspension there, and that's what these lines here do. You fill it up like you normally do, like a bike tire. And so it has a very smooth, very easy to ride, just glides down the road, and you'll see that when we get into some turns and stuff here. Now, interestingly, the Honda CBX was introduced in 1979. It was naked. It didn't have this fairing. It didn't have the bags. I'm touching the bags, but you can't see that. Those were just like basically bigger versions of the 750 that was around at the time, that came out 10 years earlier. And the 81 and 82 are like this, like I had said earlier. They're the sport touring model, and kind of sport touring was very new. I don't know, I'm not going to say exactly Honda invented that, because I'm sure someone somewhere will say, oh, you know, a Kawasaki LTD or something was already there. But basically this is the beginning of going fast, taking corners well, a full-on like high technology sport bike, but you could go, you know, 500 miles in one day and it wouldn't be too big of a deal. So this is really the beginning of that. And the position is awesome. I don't know if it's something about me personally. I'm like 6'1", and I kind of feel like I have slightly shorter than average legs for my height, but this bike just feels perfect for me. The handlebars, you can see, they kind of reach back to you. This is the American model, of course, and in Europe the bars are a little lower, and you can kind of see my knees. I don't want to get in an accident here as I show you, but my knees are tucked in perfectly to where the tank is and where the fenders protect them from the wind. The controls are slightly back, you know, a little sporty position. Man, it is just the perfect riding position. I would love to recreate that on a smaller bike, because you just feel like this is a big bike. Let's be honest with that. It's big. It feels heavy. It's very hard to move around in the garage, especially compared to a modern bike. This is 1,000 cc, so if you do the math on that, it's really about a 750 with those 2 extra cylinders on it. And 1,000 cc's, 100 horsepower in 1979. That is just crazy. By today's numbers, those don't seem that wild, but in 1979, this was like the king of the road. This was about as big as it got, and it really does feel like that here. It's just like a big bike. I mean, Harleys were bigger cc wise. They were not performance bikes, especially in 79. We're still talking about the Ironhead years, the AMF stuff, and other than that, you could not buy a Triumph this big. You're starting to get into that with some of the Kawasaki's or 1,000 cc 4-cylinders, but this was a big motorcycle, and it still feels like a big motorcycle. But like I said, with that air suspension and the riding position, I do feel in control. We're gonna take this turn. People always stick out a little bit farther here. So this is, like I said, right by the shop. This is the test ride. If you ever come out and take a test ride with us, this is our little route. We'll see if this guy up here turns, because I hate being behind a car, because this is a horrible road in a car. Yeah, he's gonna turn, it looks like. But on a motorcycle, it just doesn't get much better, honestly, especially like pretty much in downtown Columbus. So you see 15 miles an hour on the turns, and they've got these lights. I mean, they're not joking around. These are pretty serious turns. But on a motorcycle, it's a fun road. On a car, kind of annoying. All right, we'll give it the beans here and then scare this guy. So you see a little bit of the just quick revving. I mean, this thing is just smooth as can be, and it's high. It tops out on the RPMs at, what is it, 9,500, about 10,000. You can hear that just perfect note. And it really, after 6,000, 7,000 RPMs, it just screams. Maybe you noticed it when I was looking at it there, but it has 6 cylinders into 2. So there's one exhaust pipe on each side. They make some aftermarket exhaust 6 into 1, 6 into 6. They get pretty wild with this thing. Good brakes. It's disc brakes front and rear, dual disc up front and a disc in the rear. So that's 3 total discs, if I covered that a little too quick. Here's the straightaway when I like to get it, so I'll be quiet during this. Hopefully that was to everybody's audio visual satisfaction. That thing, that's what it's meant to do, is to just put all those 6 cylinders to work and just scream. On the highway, this thing feels like it's going 20 miles an hour. It is just about as long-legged as a bike can get. And that fairing, actually, I think it makes it feel great. I don't know if you can tell the difference between the wind here. I'm all the way in the wind here. I'm kind of protected, and it just does a great job keeping it off you, especially at the higher speeds. But this thing is just running about as good as can be, just as smooth as can be. I keep saying that, as can be. But anyway, pretty low seat here. I've actually got a Corbin seat, if you notice, my feet flat on the ground. And it's easy to control here at these at the stoplights. Now that we're warmed up here, this thing. So like I was saying about those other exhausts, people compare it to an F1 car. You know, an F1 car, they've got multiple cylinders, and you know, sometimes they're V12s, which is basically 2 straight 6s in a row. And they will just scream up there. So that's a similar sound. There's something interesting about multiples of 3 when it comes to cylinders. We're basically, sorry, I probably bumped you around there. We're basically talking about, think about a circle, and think about the firing order just being equal, like kind of like the Mercedes symbol or the peace sign or whatever. So if that firing order is completely equally spaced, you wind up getting a very balanced engine. And so multiples of 3 are going to have that characteristic. So we're talking about a 3-cylinder, a 6-cylinder, a 12-cylinder, 16 if we, I guess 16 isn't it exactly a multiple of 3, but anytime you can add 3 cylinders in there, we're talking about getting crazy in there. And we're talking about basically naturally counterbalancing. So that is why this bike is so smooth. There's just basically 0 vibration. My handlebars feel the road completely. I don't feel any vibration from this engine. It's actually kind of weird if you're riding with someone who has a louder bike and you have this bike. You're like, is it even on? Did it just stall? You know, it's just wild how quiet and how smooth it is. I don't know what we're doing here. Is this guy trying to get back on the road? So anyway, there are some improvements in 81 and 82. Like I said, we get the fairings, we get the sport touring, you know, style. We also have a Pro Link. They're also called the Pro Link suspension. The rear swing arm is like heavy duty aluminum, and it's just a real upgraded piece. So a lot of times people call these the Pro Link years, 81 and 82, and you get an idea of the performance that they were really going after. And then they discontinued them. I don't think they sold that well with all the bodywork and stuff. Tastes were changing or whatever. But that's why they're so rare, and they're so complicated with that 4 valves per cylinder and the 6 carburetors. People just, it takes some real skill. Sorry, as my visor flips up there. It takes some real skill to keep these things on the road. The carburetors is an all-day thing. You've got to take off all that bodywork. You've got to take off the exhaust. You have to drop the engine down a few inches. The engine is actually the lowest part of the frame. There's no frame underneath it. You drop the engine down. You have to take the slide the carburetors out, and of course it's a rack of 6 all connected. It is just wild. It's like I said, it's an all-day thing, maybe even 2 days. So here we are back at Throttle Company. I don't want to be all salesy. That's not the point of this video. It's just to tell you what it's like. But if you want to come see this bike or any of these other bikes that we have, kind of the idea of what we're trying to do with this place is part museum, part store, community, you know, that kind of thing. So I want a place where you can check out 30 rare, exciting vintage bikes maybe you would never see before, and they're all for sale, and you can test ride them, and we can talk about bikes, and we also do service and stuff. So a lot of those in there were customer bikes that are in here for carbs and tires, everything. So I appreciate, of course, anyone who happens to watch this. This is the very first one, so I don't have like viewers to speak of, but anyone that happens to find this on the internet, I really appreciate you taking the time to watch this. Hopefully I've got other ones out there at this point. I really personally love 70s Hondas. I love 60s Triumphs. I love everything. I love all motorcycles, really, but those are the years that I really focus on, and so we'll see a lot of that. Hopefully, I just think it's something interesting where people who aren't going to know what is it like to ride a 1982 CBX, and hopefully I shed some light on that in this video. So anyway, thank you very much for watching. Hope to see you next time.